On January 7th, 2023, the Lord gave me a dream about America and America's future. I call this one The Shipwreck and the Snake. This dream is part of this book. The free PDF is available for you to download. The link is in the description. There's also a link in the description to the Amazon version if you do want a physical copy, but I'm not trying to make money off of you. I'm trying to spread the word about how God views America and America's future. This was the dream. I was in a huge building, the size of a shopping mall or bigger, with many areas and rooms and lots of people doing various activities. Somehow I knew that many of the people I was interacting with in this building were Christians. This building was on the coast by the ocean. Suddenly, we all heard a huge crashing sound, and the building shook. None of us knew what caused the crashing sound. I ran out of the building, exiting out of a door that faced the water. The building was up on a hill above the beach, so from my perspective, I could see down to the water. Directly outside the building, there was a very large veranda or porch area with a pool. There was also a very large, very wide staircase with steps leading down to the beach. When I came outside, suddenly I was aware that my wife and my son were with me. At the time of the dream, my son was 10 years old. Interpretation note, usually in my dreams, my wife represents the Christian church. In other words, the bride of Christ, that type of symbolism. And my son represents the youth of America in general and or the Christian youth. And I believe that symbolism applies in this dream. So when I came outside, suddenly I was aware that my wife and my son were with me. Many other people also came outside to see what had caused the huge crashing sound. As we looked down to the water, we could see that a giant ship had crashed sideways into the shore. It looked like a cruise ship, not a container ship. The American flag was painted on its side. It was leaning sideways in the water some distance out from the beach. So this ship, of course, represents America itself. I was thinking that we should all run down the stairs to the beach to help the victims of the shipwreck. But suddenly someone shouted, "Stay back, there's a huge wave coming from when the ship crashed." So he was saying, don't go on the beach because there's a big wave coming and it could drown you or harm you. So everyone instinctively backed away from the stairs. The big wave came and crashed. The water came partway up the stairs, but it did not come up high enough to hit us. When the wave subsided, the people kept standing around on the deck area, staring at the shipwreck. It would have been safe to go down and help the people at that point, but no one did. My wife grabbed her camera and said, "I want to get some pictures of the shipwreck." The small pool on the deck area was about 30 feet from the door, looking down over the ocean. My wife walked to the pool, and she walked out onto some stones that made a path out into the middle of the pool to get a good vantage point for taking pictures of the shipwreck down in the water. My son went with my wife. I looked down again at the shipwreck from the dock, wondering about the victims. A couple of moments later, I looked back toward the pool. My wife was standing on the stones in the middle of the pool, taking pictures of the shipwreck. Suddenly, I saw a huge, dark green snake swimming in the pool. It had enormous, very sharp fangs. Somehow I knew that it was extremely poisonous. The snake was swimming around quickly, raising its head out of the pool and showing its fangs. I looked at my wife, who was still busy taking pictures. I did not see my son with her. With panic, I realized that I did not see him anywhere. I yelled to my wife, "Where is our son?" I was extremely anxious. I was horrified at the thought that the snake could bite my wife, or worse, that it had already gotten our boy. I yelled again to my wife, "There's a huge snake in the pool. Get out." Strangely, this did not seem to affect her much. She said, "Hold on, I'm taking pictures." It was as if she was completely oblivious to the danger of the snake, or simply didn't care about it. Nor did she show any indication of being concerned about where our son was. Also, of course, she was not going to help the victims. She was just obsessed with taking pictures of the shipwreck. Meanwhile, I was desperately looking all around, but I still couldn't see our son anywhere. and I was still extremely concerned that the snake would bite my wife, but I couldn't get her to move or pay attention to me and the danger of the situation. I kept moving my eyes to and fro, searching for my son, but I couldn't find him. I was horrified by the thought that maybe the snake had bitten him and dragged him under the water. I kept yelling to my wife in a panic, but she kept acting nonchalant, saying that she was busy taking pictures. End of dream. Interpretation. My wife represents the American church, American Christians. My son represents the youth, the younger generations. The snake represents the devil. I represent Jesus calling to the church. The shipwreck represents America. The adults and older generations of Christians must be careful that we are not so busy watching the spectacle of America crashing that we put ourselves in danger of losing the youth and being bitten ourselves as well. See, I see this very clearly in the Christian church. Everybody's watching what's happening like it's a spectator sport. If American Christians spent half the time they spend doom scrolling the news, praying for the youth, what would happen? But they're not doing that. In the dream, the wisest course of action would have been for my wife and I, the American church and Jesus, to immediately go searching for the youth to make sure they're safe from the snake. Of course, I represent Jesus in the dream. I'm not saying I am Jesus, I'm saying, or that I'm perfect like Jesus. It's just symbolism in the dream. But Jesus was looking around for the youth, wanted to help the youth, but the American church was not helping him out. In the dream, my wife, the Christian church, was not paying attention. There was simply no concern for the youth whatsoever. The church's attention was fixed completely on watching and taking pictures of the shipwreck of America. After ensuring the youth's safety, the next logical course of action would have been to wait for the wave caused by the shipwreck to subside and then run down and begin helping the victims, getting them safely to shore, getting them medical help. But my wife and the other people on the deck were too busy being spectators. The message of the dream is that the church must focus on helping the young generation, ensuring their safety first. Malachi chapter 4, verse 6 comes to mind. If the hearts of the fathers are not turned to the children, the land is under a curse. And that's what we're seeing in this dream. This is part of how God views America. And this is part of why what is coming to America, as you will see in the other prophetic dreams and visions about America's future that I will share, this is why the judgment is coming. This is a big reason why, part of it. The message of the dream is that the church must focus on helping the young generation, ensuring their safety first. Instead of spending so much time treating the play-by-play of America's shipwreck as if it is a spectator sport, we must invest that time in finding, reaching, and ministering to the young people. Every generation in America for the past several generations, young people have been significantly less likely to go to church. There's no good reason for that. But there is a reason for it, which is that American Christians are not doing what they're supposed to do. We must invest time in finding, reaching, and ministering to the young people, and after that, the church must run to the aid of the victims of the shipwreck who will inevitably need help. The shipwreck of America for the remnant of Christians that God will use is actually an opportunity. I'm not saying it's a good thing that it's happening, but it can be used as an opportunity because a lot of people are going to need help, and a lot of people already need help. That's the dream, the shipwreck and the snake that God gave me on January 7th, 2023.